Now, the war between Israel, the US and Iran seems to be escalating despite regional efforts to end the fighting. US and Israeli strikes have struck across Iran overnight. Blasts have been seen and heard in Tehran and several other cities. More than 1,900 people have been killed in the attacks so far. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corp says American and Israeli universities in the region will be targeted. That's in response to the bombing of the University of Science and Technology in Tehran on Saturday. And it follows what are being called extensive discussions between Iran and Pakistan's leaders. Islamabad is hosting talks on the crisis in the coming hours. Foreign ministers from Saudi Arabia, Turkey and Egypt are gathering in Pakistan's capital. Tohid Asadi is joining us from the capital, Tehran. Let's start with the attacks in Iran overnight. What more do we know about what's been happening?
Well, actually, from the midnight onward, we have been able to hear the sounds of massive explosion. The recent one of which happened just a couple of hours ago in the early hours of the morning. And of course, it is indicative of the continuation of these airstrikes. We know that in the capital, Tehran, in eastern, western, and northern parts of the capital, blasts have been reported, and of course we know that it is not just limited to the capital, as we received reports from the Khuzestan province in which a water storage facility in the city of Hafgol was targeted. And of course this is one of the infrastructures, speaking of which we know that there are several other infrastructures across the country being targeted. Also, we know that attacks have been reported in cities of Shiraz and Tabriz over the past 24 hours. The United States and Israelis are claiming that this is the actually military headquarters or military related buildings or state-related ones, but indeed the footages are quite indicative of the very fact that this is the residential areas being severely impacted, some of them damaged, some of them even reduced to rubble. And speaking of which, the latest came from the Red Crescent saying that more than 92,000 civilian units have been targeted so far. And of course, we know that the air defense system activation is also reported not only in the capital but also across the country.
Tohid, Tehran has also accused the US and Israel of hitting universities, and now Tehran's warning of retaliatory attacks. Do we have any more details about that?
Yes, indeed. On Saturday, there was an attack targeting University of Science and Technology in the capital, in the eastern parts of the city. And we have to, let me just remind you that the eastern parts of Tehran has been a scene of heavy bombardment since the very beginning of these airstrikes. But speaking of the University of Science and Technology, we know that according to the public relations of the university, some buildings, research-related buildings of the university have been reduced to rubble, as we saw in the footages coming out from that. And there is something interesting. After the attacks took place, there is a banner just at the entrance of the university which reads, "We will never agree to surrender." This is the banner that we see at the entrance of university after the attacks took place. And of course, we know that ahead of these airstrikes, we had Dr. Saeed Shamafdari, an associate professor of the electrical engineer of that university, who was killed as a result of attack targeting his home alongside his 18-year-old son and 11-year-old daughter. And we know that it's not the only university. Red Crescent says more than 600 schools and academic institutions across the country have been impacted. Ismail Baghai, the spokesperson for the Foreign Ministry, came out to condemn these attacks and said that it is the objective of the United States, quote-unquote, to cripple our country's sound scientific foundations and cultural heritage by systematically targeting universities. But even more important than that was IRGC's strong retaliatory warning. They came out again in another statement to say that as a result of their airstrikes, all universities of occupied regime and American universities in the West Asia region are legitimate targets in retaliation of the destruction of Iranian universities. This is the exact actually statement that we heard from IRGC after these airstrikes took place.
Tohid Asadi there talking to us from Tehran. Thank you very much indeed.